What's going on, everybody? John McKechnie here, reporting live. I am on the clock as we get started here on the Beat John McKechnie RotoWire Online Championship. I'm sure my fellow draftees in here are waiting for me to make my pick and hurry this along. We're less than a minute into this thing, and 3 picks have already been made. Here I am with the 4th overall pick. We've got Christian McCaffrey, CeeDee Lamb, and Breece Hall off the board. I'm going to stick with the running back here. Here we go. Hitching my wagon to one Bijan Robinson to get us rolling here with the 4th overall pick. But, it's interesting. I've done, upwards of an embarrassing amount almost of best ball drafts over the course of this summer. And it kind of gives you a different point of view as far as, your team roster construction, the way that a draft is going to unfold. And I think that this, exercise with the NFFC, it's always a reminder that things can go different and go different in a hurry. So you really need to be multiple in a format like this, especially when you know that every single team that's drafting has a sharp manager behind it. And I think it's interesting how, whereas in a draft on another format where, you're going to see McCaffrey and then 6, 7 receivers come off the board right off the jump. We saw 3 running backs go in the first 4 picks here. I would have liked to have started my draft with Breece Hall. And I figured that according to my Kentucky Derby style selection, that picking 4th would have gotten me there. But I was wrong, but oftentimes I do have trouble reading the room in this particular format. Again, it's really, really sharp across the board. No duds here. So excited to see how the rest of this one unfolds. If you hear some click-clacking in the background, that's my pup, Bentley. He's, popping in and out of the stream. We'll see if he wants to join us up on the big screen at any point. If you're following along here, you can catch the way that the draft is unfolding. After all those running backs went, we saw a nice little run of receivers. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Tyreek Hill, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, A.J. Brown, in that order, with Jonathan Taylor breaking up that run before Marvin Harrison, the rookie, goes 11th overall. And as we'll see kind of coming up here in about the way this is going, less than 3 or 4 minutes here, we are going to have that 3rd round reversal. So whereas I picked 4th in the first round, I have the 8th pick in each of these next 2 rounds. So we'll see how that goes. Our guy Henry is in here in the stream, checking it out. What's going on, Henry? He's got an NFFC draft coming up here shortly as well. Jahmyr Gibbs comes off the board, and a quick reminder to everybody: we got PPR scoring in this format. I'll go ahead and pull up some of the rules so that the draft board can make a little bit more sense to everybody as this goes along. Garrett Wilson coming off the board. Saquon coming up next. So a nice Team 10 and Team 12 both starting off with an RB-heavy approach. Team 12 going Gibbs and Henry off the rip. We've got Team 10 going JT and Saquon Barkley to get rolling. I'm a fan of establishing the run, and in today's day and age, you don't see it as much with fantasy roster builds. And I think in this format, zigging where others zag definitely makes sense. Sorry for the barking. My dog is obviously very excited about the run getting rolling here. All right, so we are moving along here. We are about halfway through the second round. Just so everyone is aware of the kind of ground rules here, we've got one quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 receivers, 1 tight end, 1 flex, a kicker, a defense, and then it's a deep league. So we got 10 bench spots that we'll be drafting this evening as well. 6 points per passing touchdown, and we've got full point PPR as well. So that should help kind of inform the way in which this draft board is unfolding so far. I'm going to have a tough decision to make here on the other side of this. We will see how it goes. My pick is coming up quicker than I would like. I am 2 picks away from being on the clock again. I have an idea of the way I'm going to go with this, but we shall see. Oh, we got Travis Etienne coming off the board. All right, folks. We're going with the receiver here. I'm going to anchor myself to 1, Jalen Waddle at receiver. Obviously, big play waiting to happen, an explosive offense. You don't want to take too much away from a preseason performance like last weekend, but at the same time, Tua looks like he's sharp, like he's ready to go. I don't think that offense really drops off at all this year. And I think it kind of dovetails with my initial selection of going running back in the first round as opposed to taking Tyreek Hill. I'm not saying that Tyreek drops off fully this year, but I do wonder if Jalen Waddle steps up and takes on a slightly larger role within that Miami offense. So I've always been a huge fan of his talent dating back to his time at Alabama. I kind of thought, even though Devontae Smith won the Heisman that last year in Tuscaloosa, I did kind of feel like Waddle had more juice as a pro prospect. If I'm being honest, do I love taking a wide receiver too as my first receiver? Not exactly. Of course, you want a true workhorse. But at the same time, I think that that's an offense where there's really like a 1A and 1B type of setup, or at least I'm drafting with that particular hope when it comes to Jalen Waddle. Kyron Williams coming off the board finally. I wouldn't say there's been much in the way of surprises thus far. You could argue that Malik Neighbors in the second round is a little bit early, but it is full point PPR. I like him more in that type of format because I think he's just going to be a target monster this year. I think that there's a decent chance that he's top 10, if not a little bit higher when it comes to overall target share this upcoming season. Now, are they going to be quality targets all the time? We got ourselves hitched to Daniel Jones, so we're not so sure there. But at the same time, you feel good that the role is absolutely going to be there for Neighbors. It's just a matter of can that efficiency come through? But it gets smoothed over a little bit when he's a guy that it can potentially get you 100 catches right off the rip. We've just got the third round reversal. It just came through. Let's see how that's unfolding. We got Debo, the first receiver taken by Team 12. Team 11 now on the board with the combo of Marvin Harrison Jr. and Garrett Wilson. Definitely like that start as well. Brandon Ayuk, kind of one of the great unknowns of the early portions of drafts this year. I mean, we got the up in the air situation with his contract. Is he going to be playing in San Francisco? Is he going to be playing elsewhere? Feels more and more likely that he will be sticking in San Francisco, but at the same time, is he going to be at that same level of effectiveness after having kind of a condensed, muted offseason, I suppose you could say. Moving on, we got Devontae Adams coming off the board here. Pardon me, if you will. I'm going to hype myself and make sure that this is tweeted out for the good folks on Twitter. Hey, look, there I am. All right, cool. Some people would have done a technical check such as that right immediately. I like to wait 10 minutes and have confidence that I've set this up correctly. So lo and behold, I did. Okay, we've got Devontae Smith coming off the board now. So that's 2 Week 5 buys for Team 9 in its first 3 picks. We'll see how they're able to navigate that particular setup, if that ends up being a difficulty for them. All right, I've got my eyes on something here. We're getting close. 3 picks away. Would have liked to have DJ Moore. My ideal start would have included DJ Moore. I have a ton of shares of him in best ball formats. I'm a big fan of what the Bears are building. I'm a big believer in what Caleb Williams is going to do this year. So I think the DJ Moore is going to feast this year. I think I would have taken him over some of the receivers that were taken in that second round. Of course, not Jalen Waddle, though. Of course not. All right, we are on deck here. The suspense is killing me. It's palpable. Can you feel it? All right, here we go. All right, I'm going to swing for the fences here a little bit, get an investment in what I believe to be an ascending offense, an offense that's going to score a lot of touchdowns this year. Yeah. All right. We're going Josh Jacobs. New running back there in Green Bay. It feels like he is going to be the guy in Green Bay this season. I co-host the show with Mario Puig. He has been banging the drum pretty much all off season to the idea that, in fact, Marshawn Lloyd is not going to be the starting running back in Green Bay, nor anything close to it. And I tend to agree with that. I think Jacobs is going to feast. They gave him a big old contract, and I think that he's going to get a lot of work. And again, I do think that the Green Bay Packers are an offense that are going to be living in the red zone this year, and Jacobs is the guy to kind of punch it in for that offense. So now we're back to our regularly scheduled programming. I'm going to be coming up with my 4th round selection momentarily. A lot of ways I could go here. I like this start with Bijan and Jalen Waddle, Josh Jacobs. I think we're going to need probably some pass catching juice to kind of supplement things here. I think there's options available to make that happen. If you can hear it, my dog is waiting with bated breath for this next selection. Well, he's excited. I can feel the energy in the among the listenership here as well. A lot riding on this one. This is an important pick here, folks. All right, 20 seconds left before I'm up. Here we go. T. Higgins comes off the board to team 3. All right, no guts, no glory. I kind of hate this guy's bye week, but at the same time, I think that it's an offense that, again, is going to be about as explosive as it gets through the air. Give me Stephon Diggs. So I know that's a couple of, option 1B type of receivers to start my roster build there, but, no bye week issues thus far. Bijan bye week 12, Jalen Waddle 6, Jacobs 10, Diggs 14. Again, 14 not ideal. That's a bye week that is late on in the season, key week in the season, but at the same time, again, I think the overall production that we're going to get out of Stephon Diggs will hopefully translate over, and we'll just have a little bit of work to do to make sure that that's covered in season. Now we're starting to see some quarterbacks come off the board. I think it definitely makes sense for Patrick Mahomes to be the first quarterback off the board in this particular format, with it being 6 points per passing touchdown. I was really wrestling with the idea of taking Travis Kelce. I didn't necessarily want to pursue like that Chiefs stack because I already had Waddle in week 6 with that bye, and sinking 3 of my first 4 picks into week 6. That could end up being a little bit tricky in season. Even I don't know. Maybe I'm a little bit too hung up on that, but TBD. But we're rolling along. I think in Hurts and Allen's cases, I think I would have liked them a little bit better in the 4 point per passing touchdown type of format. I foresee, at least in Allen's case, things dropping off a little bit this year without Stephon Diggs, without Gabe Davis. I do wonder how that offense is going to function through the air. Is Keon Coleman going to be that immediate factor? How long is that Curtis Samuel injury going to linger on? How much do we trust Khalil Shakir? How much do we trust Dalton Kincaid? So there's some question marks there in Buffalo that I wasn't quite ready to jump in with both feet just yet. But we got a little while here until my next pick to kind of let this percolate. All right, we've got Amari Cooper coming off the board. Travis Kelce comes off the board with the 9th pick of the 4th round. Zay Flowers coming off the board. Team 11 going really receiver heavy. I believe that is the only team that has started all receivers through the first few rounds. How you doing, bud? You want to come up here? No? right. Tank Dell coming off the board. So we got the little Houston pairing there. I wondered if that was going to end up unfolding 3 Houston Texans picks in a row right now with Tank Dell and CJ Stroud going to Team 12, Joe Mixon going to Team 11. I really like that start for Team 11. Hammering receiver off the jump, Joe Mixon as your first running back. As maybe like unsexy as that sounds at this stage of Mixon's career, again, I do think that that's a Houston offense that's going to challenge for the league lead in points scored. And I have half a mind actually to throw a bet down on Joe Mixon leading the league in rushing touchdowns. I just think that the setup is cake as far as whoever ends up being the top dog running back in that backfield, and I think it's pretty clearly Mixon. I think we can deduce that from the contract and the move to get him this offseason. And team didn't seem to be super enamored with Dameon Pierce last year, even though I thought he had a fine enough rookie season back in 22. But there's a reason they went ahead and upgraded that backfield with Joe Mixon. So I do like that pick there. Rashad White and James Cook going to teammates. So that's really leaning into that PPR wrinkle. I don't think that either of those guys profile as necessarily like workhorse running backs, guys that are going to give you a ton of rushing yardage or touchdowns. But at the same time, we're looking at tons of catches between those two. So that's a nice start from Team 8. Okay, we just see Chris Godwin come off the board, Terry McLaurin as well. All right, I'm putting it out there. I don't like waiting on tight end so much this year. So we're between McBride and Mark Andrews. I am going to go with one Trey McBride. I think that last year wasn't a flash in the pan. I know that Harrison, kind of changes the overall calculus when it comes to that passing game distribution, but I think McBride is still, an anchor there of that passing game. And, there's a non-zero chance that Harrison takes some time to really take over the way that people are expecting, the way that people are drafting Harrison, where he's, a late first, early second type of guy. I think that McBride is still, going to be a huge part of that offense. All right, we're coming back around. Calvin Ridley, Xavier Worthy coming off the board. Sorry, I'll just get my ducks in a row as we get ready for my 6th pick here. Got team 2 on the clock. Team 1 starting out McCaffrey, Nico Collins, Rashee Rice, Patrick Mahomes. A nice little chief stack there. Keenan Allen and Deontay Johnson. So a lot of like PPR centric type of flavor to his start. No question about it. All right, we are 1 pick away here. Team 3, let's see how they're rolling with it. All right, we're up. All right, I'm going to keep leaning in to that Cardinals. We don't technically or typically like go full stack or always be chasing stacks in this particular format. It's not a best ball league, but at the same time, like I do want some access to that Cardinals offense. I do think it's going to be a lot better this year generally. TBD on what this means for my quarterback plans, but we'll play around with it, see what's up when we get there. I'm liking this start here. McBride, Connor from that Arizona offense, Stephon Diggs, Josh Jacobs, Jalen Waddle. I think if there's a weak point here, I definitely have some work to do at the receiver position, but it's deep. I think PPR can kind of make some lesser players worth a little bit more in this particular format. So I think that, we're going to make this work. We'll get there. Just going to have to go quantity over quality just a little bit. Team MP or Check MP is wondering what I would do from the 2 spot in a half-point PPR 12-team league. So that's kind of like the tricky question right now, I think, in fantasy circles is I think when we're this close to the season starting, everyone gets a little bit tense about what the first round looks like. And when your feet are really held to the fire, who do you pick? Because there is going to be a wrong answer. There just is. History bears it out. Justin Jefferson was a wrong answer last year, technically speaking, just because, the injury and everything. And he was, he was consensus 1-1. So one of Tyreek, Jamar Chase, CeeDee Lamb, even Amon-Ra, or Justin Jefferson, they're gonna fall short. At least one of those guys, if not 2. We're going to see some guys that go in the 2nd, 3rd round emerge and be first rounders next year. So it's tough. Personally, and I wish that the contract thing is the only thing that's kind of stopping me short of just snap calling this. But my kind of long-standing theory for this year is that this is Jamar Chase's peak season. I think it's coming. I think the Bengals, the way that last year went, where it was Lemony Snicket series of unfortunate events type of season. I think they're going to come back refreshed, renewed. I know that contract is hanging over his head, and is he going to start slow? That's certainly a question. But I think whereas Tyreek Hill's peak season was last year, I think CeeDee Lamb, his peak season was last year. I think Jamar Chase has another level still to go. I do think if everything falls right, I think it is this season. So for me, I would go Chase as pick number 2 to answer your question there. Appreciate the question. All right, we are coming back around. Joe Burrow comes off the board. Kyler comes off the board. Let's see here. Kittle and Pitts. So see the tight ends have started to kind of fly a little bit of late. Roma Dunze is definitely somebody that I had my eye on as a potential target with my next pick, but simply not to be. What's going on, Uncle Ted? Good to see you back. Enjoyed the banter from the comments section in the podcast earlier. Let's see, what do we got here? Looks like I'm up. Well, the problem is a lot of these receivers are injured, so that's not great. Okay, clock's running down. Rashee Rice is off the board, unfortunately. You go Jordan Addison. I know he's got dinged up, but I think that he'll be ready to go for the start of the season. And I got to feel like that's an offense that just is not going to run the ball. And obviously Jefferson is going to get his, but Hawkinson's not going to be full go anytime soon. So I think that this is a spot where it makes some sense to just like grab the number 2 option in that offense and just hope that we can make that work. All right, getting a little antsy here as we come back around, as none of the teams picking between my next pick have selected a quarterback yet, as you can see. So hold on to your butts, as Samuel L. Jackson once said. Jamison Williams comes off the board. Love the upside, but I just couldn't quite get there. He was definitely in consideration for me, but couldn't quite get there. Uncle Ted, we do have differing views on our running backs du jour for this season. I'm not a huge Rico or Brooks guy. Moss I could certainly see, though. I think Moss is a really solid, like, kind of floor play in that Cincy offense. All right, Jalen Warren comes off the board. Interesting. I know that he's a little bit dinged up himself. But our latest note at RotoWire.com, the injury downplayed a little bit by Coach Mike Tomlin. So maybe not as big of a concern when it comes to that injury and affecting him for this season. It's interesting to me that, Anthony Richardson, you can see, I guess you can, I'm not sharing that particular screen, but his ADP on the NFFC is 58. We're at pick 87, and people are still kind of cool on him. He is yet to be selected. I think Dak Prescott is probably the better pick in this particular format. And obviously when they have CeeDee Lamb, Team 2 does, it definitely makes sense to go ahead and pair that up. Let's see here. We got just a few seconds left on the clock until I'm back up. What do we do? Jonathan Brooks comes off the board. Okay. I'm going to do it. I'm going to get my quarterback. Grab Tua. Not necessarily enamored with Tua, but I think the correlation with him and Waddle makes some sense. And I think also you don't have to love the player if the system is great. It's sort of like a Jared Goff type of thing where it's like Goff might not be the first. If we were redrafting all quarterbacks to start franchises, Goff probably is not a top 10 guy, but in that system with those weapons, you got to love them. And I think I have kind of like a similar feel when it comes to Tua in this McDaniel system when you have, effectively a track team. Uncle Ted astutely notes that he's a lefty with scrambled eggs for brains, and he will pass on him. Well, I can get another quarterback. It's fungible. Let's see here. All right, so we got a little while to go here until I'm back up. Tyjae Spears coming off the board. I do feel like we're going to see a bit of a running back run over this next little bit. I've got some ideas as to how I'm going to negotiate that, but we shall see. Yeah, the Vidal, things are looking up for him, especially after everyone was kind of sounding the alarms about him after that first week of preseason. I've drafted a ton of Vidal over the course of the best ball year. He's someone that's, we'll say that he's on the radar for later. How does that sound? Devin Singletary comes off. That stings. I was definitely eyeing him up. Ugly volume. That's all I wanted. It's too much to ask, though. Yeah, no, Singletary definitely showed that, he was, again, going from the Texans to the Giants is my main concern. That offensive line in New York and, just the kind of general lack of fear that defenses are going to have. Defending the pass there was kind of what concerned me about Singletary. But at the price, again, we're hunting volume, we're hunting carries, we're hunting opportunity. And I think that he absolutely offered that. Okay, some Roshan Johnson, interesting cases being made for him from Uncle Ted. Just the idea that he's going to be on the field a lot. DeAndre Swift, as much as I like him, I went to Georgia. I love DeAndre Swift, but I can admit that his pro career hasn't gone quite, how we would have wanted to this point. And, I could see him getting a little dinged up here and there. Roshan, kind of a more sturdy back between the tackles type of guy. Yeah, definitely agree with you. No worries there that Anthony Richardson that late is definitely a nice get. All right, we're up. We're on the clock. What are we going to do? I'm going to reach a little bit here, folks. I can sense the groans coming. But Josh Allen has to throw it to somebody. Oh, I hope I don't get flamed too much for that one, but that's the way we went with it. My thought, you could call it short sighted, but Samuel's hurt right now. He's week to week. Hasn't always been the picture of durability, and I think personally that they have different roles envisioned for Shakir and Samuel, and MVS is dinged up too. So I just think at least in the early going, if I can squeeze some juice out of Khalil Shakir, and hopefully the idea being that he gets some traction, some trust with Josh Allen. There's so many new pieces there in Buffalo. He's a returning part of it. He certainly showed some flashes. Do I need some red zone threats? I don't disagree with that. I definitely have a skinny boy receiving core right now between Waddle, Diggs, Addison, and Shakir. So we'll beef it up. Have no worries about that. All right, sorry, folks. I'm locking in. All right, we're up. I'm agonizing over this one, folks. Oh, boy. Don't hate me. There I go. Chuba. I know. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I had take lock. I had to, this is an important pick I'm making there. It's oof. Hopefully that one comes to fruition. I have a lot invested in one Chuba Hubbard this year, so hoping that Panthers offense wakes up just a little bit. Let's see. Jerome Ford comes off the board. Brian Robinson just before Chuba. Other round 10 picks, Dontavian Wicks, Curtis Samuel. Thus far, and as we get into the 10th, Brock Bowers and David Njoku both come off the board. Rico Dowdle's still available. I imagine he's going to be gone relatively soon. It looks like, according to the draft board, or according to the ADP, 7, 8 running backs are going higher than him. So we'll see how that goes. Trey Benson comes off. So a lot of running backs. That's the thing, kind of a lesson that I've learned in doing these drafts over the years, is that running backs start to fly eventually. There's, the bench depth is such that people just kind of hoard running backs that wouldn't normally be drafted this high or even be rostered in most standard leagues. But it can, I guess, theoretically be tougher to find on the waiver wire. I don't know if I agree with that, but there goes Rico Dowdle off the board in the middle of the 10th round. Trey Benson, a great pick. I do agree with that. Definitely like Trey Benson this year. Yeah. You hit the nail on the head there, Uncle Ted. Like, essentially the idea just being you're hoarding running backs late as these lottery tickets in case, stuff goes wrong with the frontline guys. Let's see here, Chad. What do we think? I think, do I wait on quarterback? Do I go real cheap with my QB2? Or do I grab one sometime in my next pairing of picks and try to squeeze a receiver in? That's kind of the question that I'm wrestling with right now. Stroud is off the board. Stroud went with the first pick in the 5th round. It looks like J.K. Dobbins just comes off. Let's see what Team Caleb is up to. Team 12. I like their build thus far. Yeah, he's got Rome Odunze and Caleb Williams, so a little correlation there. Let me see if I see some comments that the visibility isn't great on the draft board. I do apologize for that. I'm not. I have it on my biggest screen. I can kind of tell from like the thumbnail that I'm streaming through that it might not be the clearest, depending on what device, what type of screen you're looking through. So I do apologize for that. I'll try to keep you all apprised a little bit more as far as what's going on in this draft. Jalen Wright just comes off the board. So we got some lotto tickets there from Team 11, Chubb, Dobbins, and Jalen Wright. But in a vacuum, I do like all those guys. But I think that is assuming a decent amount of risk at that same time. Let's see. Adam wants to know. John, is the RotoWire Online Championship your preferred redraft format with the roster, scoring, prizes? So, yeah, with redraft, this is probably the best one. And I'm not just saying that because, I'm streaming their product and everything, but this is a great platform. I think that, if you're looking for something more serious than your home league, but want to have that redraft element where there is roster management involved, I don't think you're going to find it the same way on ESPN or Yahoo, joining those types of leagues. So I think, having the skin in the game and having the redraft element here where there is roster management I think that is kind of like the secret sauce that makes the NFFC kind of a different beast. And I think like there's an inherent challenge in doing these drafts. I find that these are not like, ADP drones that completely go off of what computer tell them to pick, like that. Like there is interesting strategy that you can see unfold with each and every one of these drafters. And I think that kind of like additional challenge to it, like knowing that you're going to be playing against serious folks, really like kind of sets this apart. Oh, Josh Palmer just went. I really, really wanted Josh Palmer. Okay, that's a bit of a problem here. All right, let's investigate here. We're going to have some work to do. All right, there's my red zone guy. There's my big guy, Mike Williams. Here's hoping that Aaron Rodgers plays every game this year. Otherwise, that offense is sunk, and therefore so is that pick. All right, I got one up my sleeve here. All right, we got some Nick Chubb debate going on. Freak of nature. If anyone comes back from it, it's him. I agree. But it is a matter of you're likely waiting it out through the duration of starting the season on the pup list. To answer your question, I'm not going to give away all the secret ingredients here, but some mixture of the RotoWire rankings, my own personal preferences, and those are kind of forming my my draft decisions at this point. And you got to be reactive, right? Like you got to kind of look at how the draft's unfolding, where your shortcomings are, and adjust things accordingly. So that there's no one single like path that I'm following, or one single source that I'm trying to rely on necessarily as we kind of get into the trenches here. Feels like it's getting late early, like we're in the 12th round, and like there's like some guys that feel like they go much earlier than this are still hanging around. Like for instance, quarterbacks, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Herbert, Kirk Cousins, Matthew Stafford, like all of those guys usually go about a round earlier, or just Cousins, Herbert, and Lawrence. Stafford usually goes around here, but again, like there's usually not three quarterbacks available ahead of him necessarily. All right, so we got all right, here's my spicy running back du jour. So getting a little bit of Buffalo on the cheap here with Ray Davis. I'm a huge believer in his. I'm a huge fader of James Cook's. If you ever listen to the pod, it's pretty apparent. And again, I went to Georgia. I like James Cook, but for fantasy, I know he has the appeal in this format, but I think the Bills have been endeavoring to get that complementary piece that can actually run between the tackles. And obviously last year, Damian Harris has the unfortunate injury, the shell of Leonard Fournette. It just didn't work out. So therefore Cook, had some monster work, had the huge game against Dallas, but were there really a whole lot of other weeks in which he was winning you your week. I don't think so. I think they need some beef, and I think that Ray Davis provides that. I do like Pop Douglas. I like that pick there. Jaleel McLaughlin goes off the board. Yeah, I think whether I like it or not, Jaleel McLaughlin is going to be very involved in that Denver run game this year, and yeah, it's hard to deny that. Even if you are like a Javonte optimist, I think that it's kind of trending towards a kind of a 50-50 split in that backfield. Maybe Audric Estime gets in there just a little bit. If you're right about Frank Gore being the running back to have in Buffalo, you can have my job, and I'll just go walk the earth like Kane and Kung Fu. All right, so we've kind of like reached the end, it seems like, of the quarterback run, at least for the time being. Justin Herbert, Cousins, and Stafford are still available. And, I mean, I wonder if, like, the draft room is playing a little bit of chicken and just, like, okay, I'm going to pounce on the next quarterback once someone kind of steps forward and does it next. Darnell Mooney coming off the board. Do like him this year. I'm like warming up to him, I think, as draft season comes along. I think that Atlanta offense, obviously you look at Drake London, Kyle Pitts as like the main drivers of that offense, but I think that Mooney provides a little something different, and could be a bit of that like downfield guy for Kirk Cousins. One sec here, folks. I'm gonna blow my nose. Got the Allen thumbnail for me. That's funny. All right, coming back around as we start the 13th. Justice Hill. Now, there's someone who thinks that Derrick Henry is going to get hurt right away. Otherwise, I do not understand that one. That's okay. Cool. Herbert, Braylon Allen coming off the board here. Yeah, Uncle Ted pointing out, guys like Troy Franklin, A.D. Mitchell, Leggett, Worthy, like they're all guys that you want to draft late, but late is relative, right? And, Worthy's case, especially with Hollywood Brown being hurt, he doesn't go late. Like he went probably in the 6th, 7th round in this draft. A.D. Mitchell, we'll see. Leggett, I feel like he's been banged up. I'll circle back and get some confirmation on that. I'm as someone who loved Troy Franklin in college, I'm not sure that he makes much of an impact this year. All right, we're getting close to next up. Oh, we're up. All right. Gabe Davis, I've been feeling shaky about my receiver depth. I feel better about it now after grabbing Mike Williams and Gabe Davis. So, I put myself in a bit of a Week 12 quagmire with the way that crumbled. But alas, that's why I have 11 weeks to figure that out, right? Yeah, I like that Ferguson call a lot. I don't regret taking Trey McBride where I did, but there just feels like a lot of arrows pointing towards Jake Ferguson just rocking out this year. All right, we're getting down to the nitty gritty. Dalton Schultz just comes off the board. Come back around as we get into the 14th. Uncle Ted, let's expound on this. What makes you think Bryce Young is the QB that breaks out this year? Like to hear the rationale on that. I'm not saying no. He was one of the best college quarterbacks that I've seen. Just not so sure about the translation in the NFL, but we'll see. Yep, Canales, I think, definitely is a big driver for that potential resurgence when it comes to Bryce Young. If anyone can unlock him, the track record's pretty sterling between Geno Smith and Baker Mayfield. I don't know if he's trolling. I feel like he's brought this up on multiple streams. Darn, Michael Wilson. That would have been a nice addition to my roster. I don't know, in this format, how Kirk Cousins is still available is kind of beyond me. And, that works out bye week wise. So I kind of had my eye on Levis, but I think that value for Cousins, where he went like 30 or 40 picks past ADP, that was a bit too much for me to pass up on. So, we're going to see how the rest of this shakes out. I think it's time to maybe take a look back into the old uh, you know tight end pool. See what we're working with here. Got a few ideas, but TBD if they will still be available. No one's ever mentioned Matt Stafford and Clayton Kershaw in the same sentence before. I wonder if they went to high school together, or played baseball, and Matthew Stafford was a catcher, and Stafford played quarterback and Kershaw was the center. I wonder if that was the thing that happened. All right, we've filled out a queue here, but we're starting to see defenses come off the board a little bit. We got the Cowboys, Ravens, Jets. Yes, I took Tua. I took Tua in the 8th round. To give a little glimpse of the rationale, like I spent an early pick. I spent my second pick on Jalen Waddle. This is a format that kind of puts a premium on passing touchdowns at 6 points per passing touchdown. So even if you don't love Tua the player, like that system, those weapons, like I think we'll be disappointed if he throws for less than like 35 touchdowns with that type of setup, provided that he stays healthy. And I think that Cousins is a nice backup to have. Again, he's someone coming off a pretty big injury himself, and he's getting up there. But I feel like those weapons in Atlanta, maybe I'm just drinking too much of the tap water down here, but I feel like there's some semblance of excitement about Atlanta Falcons football that there hasn't been in quite some time. Defense is so fickle. I feel like year over year when it comes to fantasy performance, that like I can't really justify like being the first one to jump. And like the Ravens, for instance, they lose Mike McDonald. He goes to head coach in Seattle. They lose Patrick Green. I don't think he's like a huge loss, but I think there's something there. Jadeveon Clowney, who had the career year, is gone. I don't think that necessarily gets replaced. They bring back Kyle Van Noy, but I don't know. It feels like the Ravens defense, unless Zach Orr is the savant that kind of is like the word coming out of Baltimore. I see that defense maybe taking a slight step back, at least to the point where like they don't end up as the number 2 defense in fantasy. It hurts, speaking of Baltimore, it hurts that Rashad Bateman went off the board there. He was definitely on the old queue. Definitely wouldn't have minded grabbing a share. All right, receivers are getting gross. Running backs, quite gross. All right, it's gut check time here, folks. Time to start throwing some haymakers, I'm thinking. Just grab Jermaine Burton. Yeah, definitely would have liked to have Isaiah Likely, but alas. More defense is coming off. I do like the Browns. I think that's a solid play. All right, we got some decisions to make here. Feels like the room is cool on taking a third quarterback, so TBD if I'll even do that. All right, I got Moss has been gone for a little bit. To answer your question, let's see what's out there running. A.D. Mitchell and Ladd are also gone. Yeah, we're down at the dregs as far as running backs go. Justin Herbert finally goes off the board. All right, here's one of my sleeper calls. Like some Jalen Tolbert for this year. I feel like it's kind of being undersold that he might be, at worst the number 3 target. Yeah, that's a good point. You can't overthink it. You just want to draft the traits and just hope that something sticks. From your end game selections here, but we're just through. We're about halfway through 16 rounds. I got to make kicker and defense picks here as we get through. Aaron Rodgers finally goes. Jordan Mason, I think, is a nice dart throw at this stage of the draft. A nice little kind of insurance policy. Obviously, that team didn't get Christian McCaffrey, but in the event that McCaffrey misses time, I don't think it's a lock that that's Elijah Mitchell taking on all the work. And I think that Mason, more stockily built, might be that guy that gets the short yardage stuff. The Human Dortch going off the board to Team 9. Don't mind that. He also, to wit, their Uncle Ted, he is the Kamani Vidal drafter. Got him 2 rounds ago in the 14th. Ravens kicker goes off the board. That's the first kicker coming off tonight. That's, the team kicker. So either way, you get some added bonus there for field goals over 30 yards. So, could work out nicely. Although I do feel like, I hate saying this, I think Aubrey down in Dallas might have the best leg going right now. Yeah, that's my thinking. I don't think I'm giving away too much for saying that I'll just spend my last couple picks on kicker and defense and just try to stockpile up to that point. Only got a few more to go here. Tyler Boyd. Let's see. Where do we go from here? Levis, if I was going to draft a third quarterback, that would have been my ideal one. I'm a big fan of his for this year. I think he is going to kind of have that breakout. So he's my call among those younger quarterbacks getting their shot. I think that there's a good situation around him. It definitely stinks that DeAndre Hopkins is banged up right now, but at the same time, I think it's Levis is just a gamer. I really like the way he plays the game. Just kind of no F's given. Bo Nix, I think, is kind of like the slender cousin to Will Levis. I like his game a fair amount as well. I think that he's shown some good stuff. Really impressive. Again, preseason, so you take it with a grain of salt. But I don't think Levis sucks. First of all, but Nix, it looked like Denver was kind of like using him, like going with like the stuff that Nix is good at. Like I don't think he's good at everything, but get him on the move, get him, rolling out. hitting those short intermediate passes, getting the ball out. I think that Nix is capable of that, and he did run for 20 touchdowns his last 2 years in college when he was at Oregon. So I think that there's some understated like rushing upside when it comes to Mr. Nix for this year. All right, we're up. This might seem a bit odd, but he just came off the PUP list. I feel like that's too cheap for Juwan Johnson, so I'm gonna roll with it. Ideally, because I took tight end early with Trey McBride, I'm not gonna have to use Juwan Johnson very often, but I do feel like he's a talented player. Outside of Chris Olave, there's a lot of targets up for grabs, I feel like, in that New Orleans offense. So there we go. I couldn't make the sell apparently on Will Levis. So that's all right. I'll just gonna have to live with that. All right, we got. I think I found my next receiver pick if I do make one. Baker finally goes off the board. All right, my team, frankly, is going to be in bye week hell in week 12, but that gives me 11 weeks to get that figured out, right? So, gonna have to churn and burn this roster a little bit, be a little impatient, but I think we've got good bones here as far as the structure of this team is concerned. I've liked my, in a vacuum, a lot of these later round guys. My one kind of regret was Jermaine Burton, because I was yapping on here a little bit too much instead of planning out my next pick. But alas, what can you do? Love the Bears defense this year. That's one that I'll jump up a little bit. I think that I'm confident that I can grab a skill guy a little bit later, maybe in the 19th, and then finish out with a kicker, and we'll just kind of rock with there. Fant being good value, I definitely agree. I've drafted him a lot in best ball. I feel like he's definitely one of the more kind of upside providing. A little thrown off by Cade Stover being an all-pro in the chat, but oh well. I like Cade Stover as much as the next guy, but what year is it? Let's see here. Now we're really flying here. AJ Dillon, I like as a late round, like kind of hedge against Josh Jacobs. Obviously, I'm invested in Jacobs, but that is all right. Alexander Madison, I'm not quite as sold on, but what can you do? I think Dylan Lobby would be the late round Raiders guy to target. The people want to know what Uncle Ted's smoking. He's smoking the truth. Like Matthew McConaughey said in the end of the second episode of True Detective, sometimes you just feel like you're mainlining the secret truth of the universe. And maybe that's what Uncle Ted's doing. We'll see. Got a few more. Let's see. We're moving into the 17th round here, so getting close. We're gonna have to start thinking about kickers. I'm probably dreaming if I think that, if I thought the Falcons kicker was going to make it back to me. That's all right. Yeah, impressive. I couldn't quite get Python to stick. I think I gave that a little bit of a whirl early on in the COVID days when I had a lot of time on my hands, but impressed you can pull that off. Let's see here. We got the Saints D, the Bills D coming off the board. Does the chat have any preferred team kickers? I'm interested to hear some thoughts on some kicker ideas because I'm a little bit at a loss here on how I want to go about it. I think you want a warmer weather or dome team, preferably with a later bye, and preferably not having a lot of cold weather late in the season. All right, we got the Niners coming out. CEH. All right, that puts me up. Need some running back depth. So PPR upside. I like Dylan Lobby. I think that he serves me well in that regard. Yeah, there's an ongoing debate whether it's Deneric Prince or CEH as that next guy up in KC. Hard to say. I kind of liked Indianapolis's kicker setup, but that schedule sucks late in the year. I mean, Denver is a good place to kick, of course, but in December, it's like, I don't know. It could be anything. They really only have one home game during like the stretch run. They're at New England to start December, at Denver, home against the Titans, and then at the Giants, like the absolute nut low worst place to kick in football. So I'm going to say no thanks there. All right. I'm going to defer to some ranks. I'm going to outsource this a little bit. Keep up. Almost done in here. All right, I think my idea for kicker is going to be Vegas if it comes to it, just because I don't think they're scoring a lot of touchdowns. So I think, we're talking field goals, we're talking favorable conditions for most of their games. I think that ideally, just game theory wise, what would be the move over, a better offense theoretically that's scoring more touchdowns. I think that there's going to be a lot of field goals there in Vegas. Jacksonville was on the board. I don't know if they still are. Kick Fearson coming off. We got the Dolphins kicker going. I'm hesitant on Detroit just because it seems like they might have some trouble kicking. They go for it on fourth down a lot already, so it's a really high scoring offense. But I feel like kicker almost uniquely stinks as far as that setup goes in Detroit. I do like Indianapolis's defense. I think you have a good idea there. Let's see, Packers kicker. Yeah. All right. So that puts a bow on it. To recap here, picking from the number 4 spot, got Bijan Robinson, Jalen Waddle, Josh Jacobs, Stephon Diggs, Trey McBride, James Conner, Jordan Addison, Tua, Khalil Shakir, Chuba Hubbard, Mike Williams, Ray Davis, Gabe Davis, Kirk Cousins, Jermaine Burton, Jalen Tolbert, Juwan Johnson, the Bears defense, Dylan Lobby, and the Raiders kicker. So that's the way that the cookie crumbled this go around. I've kind of been stuck in the middle as far as my results in these drafts over the last couple of years. Hoping to break through this year. Certainly done a lot of prep, but we'll see if it panned out. Again, a tough room. I think there's a lot of really good roster builds in here. It's hard to find the obvious weak link, and they do say at a poker table, if you're sitting there and you can't identify the sucker, it's you. I don't think I'm the sucker here. I just haven't been able to fully process all 12 teams on the fly while yammering. But oh well. But I'll hang out for a couple more as we finish out the draft. So any other questions, comments, fire away, of course, in the comments. Appreciate everyone tuning in. Of course, God, we got over 400 people watching this. That's awesome. That's really cool to reach that many folks. A lot of people over on Twitter checking us out. So really appreciate that. Really appreciate the guys over at the NFFC for getting this set up and being so good to RotoWire over the years. It's an awesome partnership that we have with them. So big shout out to Tom and Greg, just a couple of rock stars, a couple of bedrocks of the fantasy community. And of course, big thanks to my employer RotoWire for allowing me the platform to do this draft on their socials and to connect with everybody that likes to watch this type of content. I really appreciate it. I think it's a really, kind of interesting avenue that we're exploring and getting bigger. It seems like the channel is growing more and people love kind of consuming their fantasy stuff through the YouTube and through streams and everything like that. So really awesome that everyone came out and checked it out. But if you haven't yet subscribed, I'll do a quick plug. Let's do this on the fly. But if you haven't yet, go ahead and subscribe to that RotoWire YouTube channel. We got great stuff across all sports. We're going to be focusing a lot, obviously, on NFL here over the next few months. That'll be the main focus of our main feed. But we also, we have specific channels. We've got football specific YouTube channel, and we've got a football specific channel. That's soccer. If that's your bag as well, I know that the EPL just got started. So our guy Adam Zadroik does an awesome job with that, and our video guy Alan does an amazing job just kind of managing and setting up all of our YouTube stuff for success. And if you haven't seen Jim Coventry yet, I don't believe you. He's all over the place on here, and he writes tons of articles for us. So be sure that you're checking him out. Nick Whalen and Jeff Erickson on the XM show. 4 nights a week, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 10 Eastern. Mario Puig on the weekends with Joe Bartle. I think Jim's in the mix on the weekends as well. And Alan, I think, does the Sunday show over on our XM stuff. We'll be talking about these drafts over there. I will probably recap a little bit of this draft when I'm on with the guys on the Monday XM show with Nick and Jeff. So be on the lookout for that as well. And then, of course, I would be remiss. We only got a couple weeks until NFL Week 1 starts. So if you got some last minute like drafts and you haven't been able to check out what's up behind the paywall here at RotoWire, right at the bottom here, RotoWire free trial, rotowire.com/pod, that gets you access to everything we got, all the rankings, all the projections. You can customize all your stuff. It's like, obviously I'm an employee of RotoWire, but there's nowhere else I go. Like it has literally everything you need to be successful in your fantasy leagues. So many roundtable rankings. If you are particularly attuned to one of our experts rankings, we have that. Jeff does great stuff with that. We have other experts that chip in their roundtable rankings. We got sports betting. Of course, I had that up as far on the editorial side. So, be on the lookout for a lot of college football and NFL betting as the season gets started. We still have MLB betting stuff every day of the season as well. So, just if there's anything you like in the sports realm, RotoWire probably has something that will suit your interests. So, again, really appreciate everyone tuning in, checking it out as I did this draft here on the NFFC. Let's hope that this was a draft that had a $250,000 winner. I feel like that would be neat. It'd be really neat if it was Team 4 taking it home. So we'll see. If you want to follow me on Twitter, I'm at Johns_tailgate. I think RotoWire retweeted this, so you can see my handle over there. Mostly sports tweets, but some nonsense and some tweets about the Baltimore Orioles as well. But seriously, everybody, thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll see you on the other side. Cheers.